There were people in the United States who actually were preparing to defend against the kind of attacks which occurred here on 9/11. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD for short, has been defending the skies over the U.S. and Canada for almost 50 years, 46 to be precise. USA Today reports that in the 2 years before the attacks on September the 11th, NORAD conducted exercises using hijacked airliners as weapons. And one target was the World Trade Center.
I don't think anybody could have predicted that these people would take an airplane and slam it into the World Trade Center, take another one and slam it into the Pentagon.
Well, let's start, for example, with September 12th, 1994. A Cessna 150L crashed into the south lawn of the White House, barely missing the building and killing the pilot. Similarly, in December of 1994, an Algerian armed Islamic group of terrorists hijacked an Air France flight in Algiers and threatened to crash it into the Eiffel Tower. In October of 1996, the intelligence community obtained information regarding an Iranian plot to hijack a Japanese plane over Israel and crash it into Tel Aviv. In August of 1998, the intelligence community obtained information that a group of unidentified Arabs planned to fly an explosive-laden plane from a foreign country into the World Trade Center. The information was passed on to the FBI and the FAA. In September of 1998, the intelligence community obtained information that Osama bin Laden's next operation could possibly involve flying an aircraft loaded with explosives into a U.S. airport and detonating it. In August 2001, the intelligence community obtained information regarding a plot to either bomb the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi from an airplane or crash an airplane into it. In addition, in the Atlanta Olympics, the United States government and the Department of Justice and my colleague Jamie Gorelick were involved in planning against possible terrorist attacks at the Olympics, which included the potential of an aircraft flying into the stadium. In July 2001, the G8 summit in Genoa, attended by our president. Among the measures that were taken were positioning surface-to-air missiles ringing Genoa, closing the Genoa airport, and restricting all airspace over Genoa. Was not this information, sir, available to NORAD as of September 11th, 2001?
A report in 1994 predicted this kind of event as well.
Counterterrorism forecaster Marvin Citron authored a report in 1994 for the Department of Defense, warning of Washington's vulnerability to terrorist attack.
We predicted a plane could have crashed into the Pentagon. That's about as specific as you can be. If you made a right turn at the Washington Monument, you could hit the Pentagon. A left turn, you could hit the White House.
In 1999, NORAD conducted exercises where hijacked airliners were flown into the World Trade Center and the Pentagon. On October 24, 2000, the Pentagon conducted a massive training exercise called MASCOW, where they simulated a Boeing 757 crashing into the building. In June of 2001, 3 months before 9/11, a report was presented with 9/11-like events foreseen.
Pentagon is just one more Washington office building. That's all it is. It's not a fortress.
Noel Cook is a former Pentagon counterterrorism chief. Just this June, he authored a report warning that an attack of this kind was imminent.
A psychological profile of al-Qaeda terrorists given to the CIA in 1999 by the Library of Congress concluded one option terrorists might try was to crash land an aircraft packed with high explosives into the Pentagon, the CIA, or the White House.
When asked if NORAD prepared for this idea of a plane flying into a building, Major General Craig McKinley stated that it wasn't.
the concept of terrorists using airplanes as weapons was not something which was unknown to the U.S. intelligence community on September 10th, 2001. Isn't that fair to say?
I'd like the intelligence community to address that. I would find it hard to believe that they hadn't speculated against that, but it was unavailable to us at the time.
What McKinley didn't say was that Amalgam Virgo was a military drill which was conducted in June of 2001. It focused on unconventional threats, such as an airborne hijacking. In the drill, a hijacked airliner would be crashed into the Capitol building. Another part of the exercise involved 2 planes with actual pilots on the flight deck, and FBI agents would communicate to the plane's staff beforehand, and they would perform a live-fly hijack exercise where they would partake in a drill to test interceptor response times, as interceptions were standard protocol for hijacked planes long before 9/11. This part of the war game was supposedly not executed in June of 2001, but did appear in the drill's description. On the cover of the War Games document, Osama bin Laden.
But we had not postured prior to September 11, 2001 for the scenario that took place that day.
Now Major General Craig McKinley has stated twice that they did not prepare for such an event as 9/11.
Scenario, but isn't it a fact, sir, that prior to September 11, 2001, NORAD had already in the works plans to simulate in an exercise a simultaneous hijacking of 2 planes in the United States?
No one admits to the drill.
Scott, do you have any data on that? I'm not aware of that, sir. I was not present at the time.
Until
that was Operation Amalgam
Commissioner Ben
Virgo.
Veniste mentions the drill by name.
Specifically, Operation Amalgam Virgo, which I was involved in before I retired, was a scenario using a third world
And all of a sudden, Colonel Alan Scott suddenly remembers the drill and begins describing it. He even holds up the document just shown with the picture of Osama bin Laden on the cover.
And will you accept that the exercise involved a simultaneous hijacking scenario?
I was not involved in O2.
Sir, I do have some information on O2.
And now Major General Craig McKinley all of a sudden has an official statement about the drill that he just denied even took place 3 times.
Peacetime and contingency NORAD missions. One of the peacetime...
Never did in anybody's thought process about how to protect America did we ever think that the evildoers would fly not 1, but 4 commercial aircraft into precious U.S. targets. Never.
President Bush has said again and again that no one could have imagined what Osama bin Laden ordered for September 11th.
We knew he hated us, but there was nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government, that could envision flying airplanes into buildings on such a massive scale.
But that turns out not to be true. U.S. military planners did envision and practice those very scenarios. As reported by USA Today, the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, conducted exercises with fighter jets, simulating hijacked planes flown into the World Trade Center in the 2 years before the attacks.
There are a lot of good people throughout the bureaucracy that were worried, were thinking about it, were trying to think outside the box.
Pentagon planners also envisioned the attack on the Pentagon 5 months before it happened. According to this April 2001 Pentagon email, Air Force officials wanted a war game, having a terrorist group hijack a commercial airline and fly it into the Pentagon. The email was obtained by the nonprofit group Project for Government Oversight.
The people who gave it to us were clearly concerned for some period of time that this kind of event could happen. And they were pushing very strongly on trying to exercise this event.
The idea was to check response times to launch fighter jets.